Welcome to Voice Bootcamp, a global name in unified communication. Hello, my name is Faisal Khan, CEO and founder of voicebootcamp.com. In this self-study kit of deploying Cisco Unified Contact Center Enterprise with CVP 11.5, I'm going to show you how to prepare and install logger A and B. One of the first thing we do, first of all, in our topology, we have two server, logger A and logger B, which is running loggers and services or component, as well as the router. So that's why we call it a logger. So we're going to start with A, and then we're going to start with B. So first thing we need to do is make sure we can ping each other and verify the servers are communicating properly. So let's log into our so this is our router A. So what we want to do, we want to ping both server using the both public as well as a private interfaces. So I can ping the server using the public interface. Let's try the private now. Okay, so that's a problem. So we need to find out why I can't ping that interface. So now, first, let's verify the IP address of these two servers of the logger. So in the logger, I only have one interface for some reason. So let's go and verify network settings. So the private interface, for some reason, is not showing up. So we're gonna go to, okay, so although it is configured, but for some reason, I'm not able to see it right here. This is actually a very common problem within VMware, Windows running in a VMware. So to fix this problem, we have to go to regedit, local machine system, current control set, services, and select TCP IP. I believe you have to go to parameter. So what we want to do is, I believe this is the problem, actually very well known, false duplicate address. So we need to create a D word with ARP retry count to set to 0. So we're gonna say D word. Because it's a 32 machine, we'll use a Q, ARP retry count set to 0. Now, while that is the case, so once it's done, we need to reboot the server. Let's try without rebooting. Let's disable and enable the interface first to see if that fixes the problem. Okay, no, it does not. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot the server. Okay, so while that is being done on this, I will do the same thing for all the server. Pretty much is going to cause on all Windows machines. So I might as well fix this while the servers are rebooting. Okay, so I will restart this on one more server. I think 2 more to go. Well, you don't need this on these 2 servers because they don't really have a second interfaces. Up to PG is all we need. So let's see, Roger is back online from site A. Oh no, that's Active Directory. I can go ahead and wrong server I logged in. So as you can see, the both subnet is now showing up in the list. So let's try pinging 61. Perfect, I can ping. I'm going to ping the public interface. That's also pingable. So I'm pretty much good to go on that. Now the first thing we're actually installing a logger, right? So let's log into site B as well. So first thing we're going to do, step 1, is to create a database. So on Roger A, you want to go to Windows Services. I want to go to the administrative tools. You can always make pin down the administrative tools to taskbar. Now what we're looking for is services. And we want to make sure the computer browser is currently running. So it's by default disabled. What the browser really does, it allows the ICM database tool to scan the network and find out how many ICM databases are actually there running. So that's pretty much all it really does. So started running, good to go. So the first thing first, I'm going to create a database. So to create a database, first of all, this server must have UCCE SQL Server 2014, which it does, because otherwise it could not have install UCCE to begin with. So let's go UCCE tools, and there's a little program called ICM DBA. So let's go ahead and click that. Takes a little time, but hopefully it will come back. So same thing on on B. So as you can see, Roger B, I will do exactly the same. So back to Roger A, is asking me the SQL Server temp DB data size is less than 100 MB free space. Would you like to expand it? You say sure, why not? Okay, so now I am logged in to ICM DBA. So what I'm going to do right now is on this instance, voice bootcamp 01, see how many database it found? It found the Roger A, Roger B, Roger C. Now Roger, for some reason, it did not find B. So on B, I'm going to enable the computer services. Oh, actually it did find B, didn't it? No, it did not find the Roger B for some reason. So let's check the computer browser, disable. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but you know, it's one of those things nice to have. Okay, so on A, site A, I'm going to right click the voice bootcamp. Now this particular server that I'm in, it is only going to contain the logger database, because for admin database I have a separate server. So I'm just going to create I'm going to create an logger A because I am on logger A server. I'm going to say okay. It's going to be enterprise because I am running a corporation. If I'm doing a hosted based UCCE, then I will go to the ICM, but for now is an enterprise. the DB side will be side A. Choose the hard drive space and then click OK. We have to add the log as well. Just click OK. The region is North America, obviously, for the purpose of this lab. And you are ready to start your database creation. So while side A is creating the database, let's go to side B, open the ICM DBA by going to the UCCE tools. Okay, so it is still in creating. Okay, so temp database needs to be fixed. Yes, set to 50. So see how it picked up all the servers from your network because of the computer browser. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create. I'm going to create logger B because I'm on side B now. It's going to be enterprise. And the log file. Again, of course, you can increase the log file size anytime you need. All right, so on side B, I have the logger database in creation in progress. Going back to side A, so as you can see, the database part has been completed. And it's an indication, that this is site A. So it goes by instance name underscore site A, successfully created. So I'm going to click OK and I'm going to close. Now on site A, I'm going to create under logger a new database, and this is going to be the outbound database, which is for outbound campaign. So I'm going to go and create it anyway. If you do not create this database, you will not be enable the outbound option on the logger server. All right, so going back to side B, only the logger B database. There's no outbound option on side B. Click close, you're done. And this is a database. If you right click, go to create, there's nothing more to create because outbound option can only be enabled on site A. Now while that is done, you can go to your for example, you can go to your SQL Server management. Let's see, Management Studio. Okay, so as an outbound option has been created on logger A. Both of these database has been created in Microsoft SQL Server. That's what I'm about to show to you using Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Again, these are running on a training lab, so sometimes their speed is not the most optimal. Apologies about that. Okay, so I'm going to connect to my database. And if you go to databases, you'll see right there, PCB, just like a normal regular Microsoft database. All right, so we're done with that part. Now, at any given time, if you do need to, let's say, select the data, if you need to import the database, if you need to, let's say, delete, estimate, expand, you can take all sorts of functions from here. We will cover this more details in troubleshooting. Now, the database part has been created. The next part is to define the role of this particular server. One of the role of this particular server is going to be that this server is going to act as logger. So I'm going to use the web setup to define the role. So let's go to web setup. So again, you start with domain manager instance management. You create an instance, you then add it to the web setup. Next step is to create the database. Once the databases are created and populated, next step is to define the role of that server as a logger or a router or admin server. In our case right now, we are adding a logger. So because the instance has been already added, I can go directly to the component management on the left hand side, and in the component management I can decide what role I want to define. I have an option called role logger, router, and admin server. So I'm going to choose logger for now. Click on logger. I'm going to add one, and because the server already have the database knowledge, see, it automatically detected that it is site A. Why? Because of the database that you have on this particular server. It automatically highlight that option. We are going to choose the same instance from a West Coast. It is going to be an enterprise, and this information is coming from the database itself. Remember, the database created is we chose enterprise. That's why. Now, fault tolerance, because I am deploying this solution as a full duplex real world production, we're going to choose duplex. So click next. In duplex, it's going to ask me for the private IP address of my router and a logger. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the IP address of the site A. Site A is 51 and site B is 61. Now the reason why I like to use IP address so that I don't have to depend on DNS much. So same thing, 51 and 61 for site B. Okay, so this is very important, because what we need to do right here is match 51 to site A and 61 to site B. If this IP address is not reachable, your UCCE server potentially will shut down or reboot automatically. Now these are basically purging replication settings and display purge configuration step. Really don't need to. Outbound option, if you want your contact center to make an outbound telemarketing call, then you want to enable this option. Now when you enable this option, it may give you an error message if the database is not already created. Remember the database? Now one thing I really do not like is troubleshooting option reboot on error. I will just uncheck this. So if there is an error, the system will reboot. Well, if the system keep rebooting and does not give me an options to fix the problem, it may end up going in a loop. Now here you can create your own services, create service account, or say do not create service account. I will let the system create the service account and start the services. So finish. While this takes place, let's go to site B, and in site B I will now add the web setup. The database part has been created. So I'll go to component, logger, add. Now, as you can see, this one selected as site B automatically, going to be duplex. And I'm just going to choose the IP address. Any mistake on the IP address will affect the server reliability. So I want to again double click from the command line that I can actually ping these two IP address. All good. '51, all good. Okay, I use IP address as opposed to domain name because I don't want unnecessary delay Now look what happened if I choose the enable outbound option. It says that this can only be configured on site A logger. Okay, so troubleshooting, voila, syslog, sure, why not? Click next, and we're going to start the service upon creation. So now B is in process, so let's go back to A. As you can see, the A logger has been created successfully. What I want to do right now, if I minimize it, there's on the desktop called UCCE Service Control, and here you will see the logger A is currently running. Now on the UCCE server, if you scroll down, probably on the Cisco UCCE, there should be something right here under Cisco UCCE tools called Diagnostic Framework, which is kind of a web interface that allows you to troubleshoot. What I want to do is bookmark this place. Only if I find the bookmark. Oh, right there. No, not that. Add to favorite. Okay, there you go. We'll bookmark that. So when you log into Diagnostic Framework, you can always go to the list processes to see all the processes right now running. This tells you that your logger A has been configured on this. Go to site B. Site B logger has been completed as well. Again, minimize it. Go to the service control. It should be running. All right, so that practically conclude our logger, this particular lab.